Speaker. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the week 2 recap / week 3 preview of Splatty League. I got Nabil with me again.
What up? I'm back. He didn't kick me off.
No, in fact, actually, I thoroughly enjoyed your company, Nabil.
Anytime. I mean, I way rather do this than my day job.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's the goal at this point, right? Is we do this well enough. We use Splatty League as like a practice run. Eventually, we start our own podcast, and then we basically live like Silicon Valley.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I want a studio by actually, hell, I'm going to go for it. 2025, we're having a studio. That's my bold prediction. 2025, and we'll be the top sports podcast in all of America. That's good. The world.
So Nabil and I were just trying to figure out what our bold predictions were going to be for this week, because I think I'm not afraid to admit I did a little bit less preparation this week than last. For me personally, though, it just sucks when it sucks to think about fantasy when you lose, and Nabil got me, but we'll get into that later. First thing we want to chat about intro. Nabil, so you were big on Cam Newton, and we were talking in the group chat about Cam Newton, and so I want to make sure everyone knows how ridiculous it is that Cam Newton did not sign for more than $1 million, or even just get signed earlier in free agency. If you know anything about Cam Newton, he's been continuously not given the opportunity to succeed, and then when he finally is given an opportunity and he plays in place where he has fun, he does succeed. I watched him in college. His freshman year, he came in to the University of Florida, which some of you know. My dad played at University of Michigan, and he transferred to Florida. Was a walk-on receiver there. So big Florida fans at my house growing up. Cam Newton, when he came in as a freshman, was Tim Tebow's backup. And Tim Tebow, the year before as a freshman, was the backup when Florida won a national title. Then Tebow wins a starting job. He actually played a lot of snaps, even in the title game, and it was almost like, why is Tebow not starting in front of Chris Leak? As far as Florida fans are concerned, we were very ready for Tebow. Then Tebow gets in there, wins the Heisman Trophy as a sophomore. I mean, my dad and I, every time we watch the game, we're like, yeah, but this Newton guy is better. Like, he's better. Then Cam gets hurt.
Exactly.
Gets some legal trouble. Transfers away. So he transfers out of Florida. Misses. He got in some legal trouble. Didn't hit anybody or anything. He stole credit cards. Goes to JUCO, wins a JUCO national title, goes to Auburn, wins a national title there. The dude wins everywhere he goes, and I don't know why it took so freaking long for anyone besides Belichick to realize that they should sign him.
Well, I think that is just what the Patriots do. They're notorious for getting people cheap, which is why they're able to keep such a solid team year on and every year. And at this point, it might be okay without Tom. I mean, I hope he gets signed by the Patriots. I'm glad that they aren't trying to shut Cam up. I think that's kind of always been his label, which is why is that affecting how he gets signed? I mean, Carolina just royally screwed him in general by releasing him so late. I don't know if it's because they were looking for the right trades or whatever. They just screwed him over, and it is unfortunate because I think he was on the list of people that we think are fun to play, fun to watch play. And I kind of like the. I'm going to go by Patriots standards, the bad boy Patriots. They're kind of fun to watch again, and I think it's good with him. So
they are. I hope nothing but the best for that guy. He's fun to watch. Okay, just had to make sure we addressed that since it was almost off the rails in the group chat. Nabil, let's go into a little bit of a 49ers recap, and I'll let you start it off.
All right. Well, I'm not going to put down a soapbox this time. I do need to apologize to my 49er fans. I may or may not have cursed us by calling Jimmy G Jimmy Injury while he did get injured, and we can get into that in just a sec. Man, yeah, that was brutal to watch. I know when it was Bosa and then Solomon, like that, two of the names that I also mentioned when I was talking about how great our team was, them both going down with ACL being out for the year, Kittle being injured as well. I don't know. I'm sorry, Niners fan. I don't have much. I just feel so bad.
Let me ask you this. Let's put it this way. In the last 5 to 10 years as a Niners fan, have you ever felt worse watching the team win such a game so easily?
No, because you know what? This is exactly what you were saying last time, but I think you said in the podcast where it's like, how does it feel like we're not winning? Or it feels like we're not winning this game when they're ahead of the Cardinals in the beginning, and it felt the same. It literally felt the same. Like
I would have rather lost the game and not had half the injuries that we had. That feels like it would have been a bigger hole to climb out of for the 49ers.
Yeah, I was watching the game in my bed, and I literally sat and just like was just mopey the whole time. Even though because the weird thing is we let the Jets stay close, but like of course they're gonna stay close when we just don't have our starters on the field on defense. Right. And what sucks is, it's so funny. They're like blowing up this thing with Mozart, and it's weird because he just walked off. Everyone else got carted off, or with Jimmy G limping. Like everything was so visible, and he just walked to the locker room and then was just never seen again. And to me, it's so weird because I have him in another league that like, oh, now he's out for this week, and I don't know. We'll be fine, I'm sure. I think this is one of those years that we're just not gonna win as much. Hopefully everyone can come back healthy and we figure out the defense, which our defense still looked all right. But I do want to talk about one thing, and that is, what is Michael Shanahan doing in a game
Kyle Shanahan,
where we did have, yes. Did I just say his father?
You said Michael. Yeah. I've never heard Mike Shanahan be called Michael either, but we'll roll with it. Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. We're doing it live, baby. We're doing it live. So Kyle Shanahan, what? Man, yeah, I'm apparently, a family member. I call him by his full name. Okay, moving forward. Like, why did he keep Garoppolo in? Like, it was so weird. Like, we had a pretty solid lead. We were already playing the ground and pound game. So it's weird to me that knowing that he was injured with an ankle sprain, why have him play? Like, Nick Mullins was already ready to jump in there. It just seems like you saw how many injuries we had. Why risk it? Especially since, even though I don't like the guy, we do a lot of winning. He is like a key figure for the team. So it's like, I don't know. I sat there and I was just questioning. Kyle Shanahan and his father obviously know what's best for our team, but.
So they asked him that in a press conference. They asked Coach Shanahan about what the strategy was keeping Jimmy in the game, and if the score had anything to do with that. And he answered it pretty candidly. He basically, I don't want to quote him, but he basically said something along the lines of, he felt like he could play through it and in the first half and realized it was getting worse. So they evaluated him at halftime and realized, hey, if it's getting worse, then we're going to make the switch. It had nothing to do with the score of the game. They're just trying to make sure that they put the best guy out there. And Jimmy's a gamer. He's going to try to play through it if he can. And you could kind of tell, like, series after series, like, it wasn't getting better. A lot of times you roll your ankle and it hurts for a little bit. You just got to kind of jog it out 15, 20 minutes, and then you should be close to fine. And sometimes it's getting worse. It was getting worse. That's why they pulled him. That's if I hadn't seen Coach Shanahan answer a similar question, I wouldn't have said anything, but I definitely thought the same thing. Why is he out there? Do we not think we can beat the Jets with Nick Mullins?
I mean, I think it was just the competitive advantage that they have with Jimmy in there. But I don't know. Let's just jump into the rest of the injuries, because obviously that was the theme of week 2.
Yeah, just the guys that I wrote down when, these were guys I wrote as I was writing my outline off the top of my head. Saquon, Mostert, Bosa, CMC, Drew Lock, Tyrod Taylor got his lung punctured by the team doctor. Like,
That one blew my mind.
That's terrifying.
Like
Like
these,
I have a new fear. Like I've never received a pain injection in my chest, but now if I ever do, like I'm gonna be incredibly nervous. Like what? Like what? What?
it's this is like a commentary on football in general, that like these guys truly are gladiators because
Oh yeah.
they are dealing with ailments that we would never even consider playing through, right? Like I roll my ankle on a run and I'm done running for like 2 months, and then I complain about it the first time I run again, right? But these people can play with broken ribs, which is just very odd.
Insane.
Like I don't know if that popped out of nowhere or you got hit during practice. Like you would think that kind of thing could be avoided, but
Well, it's funny. It's funny. I think out of everyone in the league, I'm pretty sure, like out of all the league managers we have, I'm pretty sure Spencer's actually the one who's played the highest level of football, because he played, I believe, up through his JV season as a sophomore in high school. I played 1 year, my freshman year of high school. I don't know if anyone else actually has ever put the helmet on and the shoulder pads on, and I am not by
put
any
the
means
hands in
saying
the dirt.
I am not by any means saying that what I went through the 4 months that I played tackle football was anywhere near what these NFL players go through. It's not. However, you don't understand what it's like to bang your head against somebody for 3 hours over and over. I mean, you if you play a full football game, you're going to be involved in 50 to 100 collisions. Like not like basketball where it's a contact sport and you're bumping around. Soccer, like you're absolutely fighting for position and it's physical. You don't just line up across, like you draw a line in the sand and you just hit your opponent like you do in football 50 to 100 times a game. And it like you said,
Yeah.
like they are gladiators, and I'm bummed to see so many injuries this week to so many significant players. But it's gotta be talked about after after what we saw.
So I just want to do this one little thing. I just thought of it while you were talking. And let's just look. I have all the rosters up right now. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just going to go and I'm going to name anyone with a doubtful, an out, or an IR, right? It's not going to be terribly long, but this list has to be the most by the end of week 2 that we've ever had. Okay. We have Brashad Perriman. Nothing like crazy about that. We have Raheem Mostert. We have Le'Veon Bell. Armstead is out with COVID. We have, this is exciting, lists. We have Cortland Sutton on IR now. We have Christian McCaffrey currently on the 3-week IR, I believe, because it's a high ankle sprain.
Everything's going to count as a 3-week IR this year for the NFL. So even if it's if it's COVID or whatever, anyone can come back from that.
Kevin Coleman, Sterling Shepard, Damian Harris, blah, blah, blah. We got Deebo Samuel. And I feel like I'm still missing it because people probably already dropped people on the IR. Because I believe Saquon was not mentioned. But like, yeah, this is incredible to look at people's rosters. And now, I mean, it's funny because I don't know who might have mentioned this before the beginning of the season, but like not having that IR spot is going to impact managers this year, whether it's real football or fantasy, right? Because at this point, what do you do if players are getting injured? And this isn't the case for the 49ers, right? Like, and why I would have thought take Jimmy out earlier is you already don't know how your team's going to get impacted by COVID. So why even take any chance of injuring someone more? But I don't know. It's football mentality. It's something I'll never get.
So the fantasy aspect that is my biggest takeaway from this for our league in particular. For other leagues that I'm in, like I had guys that went down. Like I own Philip Lindsay in other leagues, and like he goes down, and there's guys available on the waiver wire. But our league in particular is so good at understanding who's like the next guy up in so many different situations that this slew of injuries, in my opinion, is going to really show who did well at getting depth in the draft, because a lot of these guys that you're talking about that are out, like the Cortland Suttons of the world, like that's usually like you think that, and this year you're supposed to do a lot better, but you think that Cortland Sutton is a guy that you're hoping to like start half to maybe 10 or 12 of the games of in a season fantasy wise. Like there's going to be sometimes you're like I'll go with someone else. and now like, but he's down. Like, who's the next guy up? Like, really, like there's a huge amount of knowledge that goes into the draft that I think is going to be so much more important this year because there was no training camp, because there was no preseason. So like these coaches are gonna have to put in veteran guys that hopefully we've all had a better chance to like see and learn about who they are versus, you know, some of these rookies. But man, with the amount of injuries that we had, like there's just the waiver wire is dry. It's dry. I mean, and we'll get into that in a little bit. In fact, actually,
well,
why
it's
don't
kind of crazy because
go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's jump into the. How about we look at the last week and then we can dive into some of these observations towards it.
Let's jump around a little bit from the order that we had. I want to look at the waiver claims that have been made. Obviously on last night. This is the main reason why Nabil and I decided to go on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, so we could have waivers to talk about. Let's start from the $43 bid for Mike Davis, the running back for Carolina, is supposed to fill in while CMC is out. Travis gets him. What do you think about that bid, Nabil? Obviously, did you have a bid on him? Obviously, a lot of people made.
Oh,
bids.
don't worry. I'm looking at the transactions right now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 total managers went in on Mike Davis. And so while I honestly thought I was high putting in 25, but he was one at what you said, 43. And what's to me, it's interesting, right? Because and I really liked the idea of Mike Davis. I think he played in Chicago, right? I think he was like kind of that starting job. So, yeah. Was it that or Seattle? I don't know. He was a big name. He was a name that was thrown around as like a sleeper. And so I think he'll do fine. But I guess what scares me is like reading some of like the notes that other analysts have is just, and I love that I say other as if I am. But that analysts have is just that Christian McCaffrey might be back in 3 weeks. And so hopefully you can justify, almost half your budget for 3 weeks to hopefully solidify some wins.
Totally.
But I would like to say just on this note, because while I was looking at this, it did make me realize, did we just bail on that idea of rollover fab budget?
We did bail on the idea of rollover fab budget. It got, and honestly, this year I just paused the ability, like, you know, we talked about having it be tradable as well, and it's just really with everything in the world being the way it is, it just didn't make sense. I get it. But it's rollover, I don't think is going to be a thing, but tradable might be in the future. The rollover
so I thought like Mike Davis
was
a good pick overall, but
it's a lot of fab, but at the same time, it's now or never. You know, Travis is 0-2 and has had a couple good performances, but if he doesn't start winning, then it's time to start tanking. And at that point, what do you need your fab bucks for anyway? So I like the pick. I like Travis went all out. The second one I want to talk about, I'm super bummed. I lowered my bid on Devontae Freeman. I thought $40 would definitely be enough to win it, but I was like, I could probably go a little bit lower and still get him and then not run out of fab. I was wrong. And so now instead of being able to just sub Saquon Barkley's backup into my starting lineup, I'm now going to be playing against him. I just got to notice that my internet connection was unstable, so I'm just going to pause, just make sure that we all you heard me good on that one, Nabil?
Absolutely not.
All right, cool. Well, I'm glad. Hey, we're back. We're back. I'll start from the top.
Do it live.
Yeah, we're doing it live. Hey, so I was super bummed. I had a really big bid in for Devontae Freeman, and then thought, no, there's no way I need to go that high. I was wrong. Congrats to Hoyt for beating me there. I am very bummed. Instead of being able to slot Saquon's supposed replacement in, I'm now gonna have to face him in the week because I play Hoyt this week, and
so go ahead.
No, I'm surprised that Mike Davis went for more, just because Devontae Freeman's probably going to be a more long-term solution. Saquon is out for the year, where Mike Davis might only be for 3 weeks, but also kind of not, just based on how, we don't know how much Freeman's going to just be jumping into the Giants offense. What do you think about that?
I think that's the exact point. I think what I wanted to follow up with was, what made you stop at that 25? Because like it's interesting to look at these bids and see that most people's bids stop at, like, who really wants them once they go over 25.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is that? That's how I love to count on the recording here. But no, there's three $25 bids, right? And everything else is kind of just around that range, other than the $35 that Hoyt put. So it's just interesting. Why stop at 25 when you know that's the replacement? Is it because that there's Wayne Gallman and Deion Lewis and
yeah, I thought that
other backs?
I thought people would go for other players. It sounds like we all did similar research. I knew who we wanted to target. Part of it too is, offering a big chunk of fab dollars. The one big drawback of it, that Hoyt now has by throwing out 35, is he has only $65 left for the whole year. Like, there is, like, that absolutely is in the back of your mind. I mean, it's the same exact type of thinking you have to do in the Rule 9 draft, where you don't want to overbid and give up too much, capital to get the player you want. You want, ideally a $40. I wouldn't have bid $40. I would have bid 36 and beat Hoyt. But anyway, congrats on that, Hoyt. Any of the other bids, any of the other ones that you want to talk about that are on here?
I mean, I kind of want to laugh at the fact that, like, I don't know why. I mean, I already have 3 quarterbacks, so why put a bid on another? I mean, I did end up.
I'm not sure what you did that for.
Oh, I did because I don't have faith in Drew Brees. I think that and it's not him. Antonio was texting me and saying, "Is it me or does he look kind of dated, or just not like he's kind of lost his step?"
One bad day.
And, I mean, but that's his second bad day, to be honest. And it's not. Here's the thing: you look at this stat line, you watch him play. He didn't look that bad, but we're playing fantasy. We're not playing real football, and so it does look like the game plan has changed, and therefore, Alvin Kamara has been a beast this year, and so they're going to rely on him. And without Michael Thomas, maybe teams are they don't have to worry as much, but I mean, they can just try to focus only on the run game. I don't know. Maybe that's counterproductive in thinking whether it would help his production, but he just hasn't played well. I think Ryan Tannehill ended the season really well last year, and it seems like he still has it regardless of who his receivers are. He does have that running capability, so I just needed someone with a little bit more upside. So dropping Drew Brees, I thought in my head maybe someone would need him, but I should have known with me having 3. Like, there's no reason to put such a high bid in.
No.
But at 14, while overpaying, I don't know. It might pay off.
It could pay off. I mean, that's
about potentially dropping another quarterback anyway to get the depth that we talked about. But like you said, it's pretty scarce on the waiver wire for what I personally need, which is running back depth, because I'm sitting with 4, and I think I'm the lowest by 3 or 4 players. Like, a lot of people are holding on to running back. So as you see, I did go both in on Mike Davis and Freeman, both at $25. I think some of the other ones that kind of stand out is Dalton Schultz. I know he's kind of stepping into that Blake Jarwin role, which I was really stoked for. I had Jarwin in other leagues. And so it'll be interesting if that's kind of what ends up happening, but I didn't think it was going to be a $12 worth.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything else
it seems to make
falls
sense.
in the line what you think,
Yeah.
I guess the Drew Sample, which I don't know why we're trusting Cincinnati tight ends, but maybe is that James? He might.
9 targets is a lot. That's proving that he's going to be part of the offense. 9 might be more than average for him. It probably will be, but it's doesn't. They are looking to get him the ball. So
hopefully,
let's move on from that and into. We got to recap our own. I don't want to call it a slugfest, but our own matchup that we had last week, Nabil. Just kind of looking at some of the details. Obviously, Fuller's goose egg did not help you, but you did squeak it out at the end there. Was it a Cook catch that put you right over the edge at the very end?
Yeah, I believe so. You know what's so funny is I didn't have the opportunity to watch any of that game because I was talking to an old league mate, good old Rachwowski, just checking in on him. But I had my phone blow up in the middle of that to see all this back and forth. And yeah, I do believe it was kind of not necessarily garbage time. Well, you know, honestly, it kind of was like a garbage time because it seemed like the Raiders kind of had it the entire game.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really squeaked out. I squeaked out a win there, and yeah, no help to Fuller. And looking at my team, it's not that I made any poor decisions other than Tom Brady putting up 9, but other than that, it had a pretty average game, and I was lucky that it was enough to win.
Yeah, no, on my end, it's just such a bummer when Saquon went down so early. And then I already have Chris Godwin down. So, my top running back and receiver are down. Watkins is a terrible game, gets injured at the end of it. Waller was a great game, also now listed as questionable. He should be fine. Sanders disappears, only has 1 catch in the New Orleans game, which I think is, maybe has something to do with what you're talking about with Drew Brees and his decline. Really, really frustrating overall for me, especially when it's like, I could have started Gardner Minshew over Aaron Rodgers, but there's no way in hell I wasn't going to start Rodgers against the Lions. Like that's a must start. Kind of, it's today or this week. It would have been nice if a 99 had pulled it out, but ultimately, this is one of those weeks where I gotta just go, oh well, I lost. Injuries happen. That's fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you have to look forward to is you do have a pretty good over points for this season.
Yeah.
You're averaging about 116. I'm lucky that I'm over. I'm just under 210, and so I feel like I have more to worry about, and I have the W. But kind of what I might have texted out before, or I've just been saying in general, is if you could leave this week, and this is not your case, if you could leave this week with most of your starters not being injured,
right,
you're in a better place than those who might have got a W with injuries. So, I mean, unfortunately, you did have Saquon, so sorry to rub it in one more time. But yeah, it was tough and it was fun because we're the two people talking on here, and I still got a W. So
you did get a W. Yeah, congratulations. We'll play.
I won.
We'll play again in week 13. Also, I barely squeaked out the I'm keeping track of as if we were like a survivor league or a guillotine. Hunter with the low score again, but he was eliminated last week, and then my 99.6 barely beats out Drew. So Hunter and Drew now knocked out of the imaginary guillotine contest that I decided we're also doing just for fun. Other match that I wanted to recap.
You mean Drew Kitchen, my bold prediction win, right?
Yes.
Good job, Drew.
is out. Second match I want to review, the easily the highest scoring loss of the week, probably early contender for highest scoring loss of the year. Hoyt goes for 147.94 and does not get the win against James in his 150.2. Had a huge hole to dig himself out of going into Monday night, and then you get 38.5 almost from Kamara. Hoyt's got to be thinking if he's not watching this fantasy app, just watching the game, kind of trying to do some mental math, thinking maybe I got a chance. Oh, but Josh Jacobs gets just enough points, 13.5 for James to keep him over the line. Anything else stand out to you on this matchup?
So one thing I do remember, and I could be wrong, I've been wrong before, I think he had Deontay Johnson in the flex. And it's funny because he went off for 23 points, would have gave him an additional 14 points, which would have been obviously enough. And just, so but I get it. I usually like to play an RB if I'm feeling like I need a solid floor. And 9 points more or less is not a terrible performance. Is a safe pick.
No, Usually, if you can get 9.5 from your flex, you're happy with that. You're not unhappy at least. Obviously, getting everyone in double
Yeah.
digits is better, but 9.6 is the tie, or it's the third lowest score, tied for first are Ertz and Hollywood Brown. Just a bloodbath of a battle, really. Ridley again with a huge game, a couple of touchdowns for James, and once again, everybody, James is 2-0 and at the top of the freaking league. And at some point, you got to realize, I guess we all got to realize, like maybe we should be looking at like trying to peek at James's draft sheet or something. Like he keeps finding ways to be at the top of the league.
Do you know what I really like about what I'm seeing? And
What's that?
I mean, I get all the joy from this is maybe how you feel about Ridley right now, and kind of just like pinching yourself every time, like, damn it, did I make the wrong decision?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how I felt with Chris Godwin. I'm just going to always bring that up. Chris Godwin's name will be said during this, like, whatever podcast every week, because that's exactly how I feel. He was a stud wide receiver, and for some reason, it seems like he's the only one who could be consistent, regardless of having Julio Jones. Like, he's this year's Chris Godwin. So
he is.
Sorry,
it seems like it. It seems like it. Other matchup I just want to Rocha did defend the championship belt. He'll take on Nabil next week in the next belt matchup. So good luck on that, Nabil and Rocha, in your battle for the traveling belt. Let's see. Let's go into next week. There's a couple matchups I did want to look at. Sticking with James, his match with Devin. The reason why I wanted to bring this one up, projected both very high, both just under 130. This is the only matchup between a 2-0 and an 0-2 player. So two teams that absolutely could be moving in different directions if James wins, and as he's projected to do, but not by much. Or does Devin find his way to claw back into contention? He's scored decently well. It's early. What are your thoughts on the Devin versus James matchup?
Devin, yet again, we talked about it last week, like, has a team that certainly should be better, puts up 138. Last week is another kind of gut punch. He's 138 to 145 to Spencer, who got his first win. But looking at this week, like, I mean, he survived so far with Gordon, thanks to your trade, which I'd like to get to the bottom of in general, what your thought process was there.
Yeah, we talk about that.
Gaskin. Yeah, and Gaskin. So he has at least some running backs. I mean, Fournette might take over that job from Ronald Jones, but he's got to play that, like, balancing act. So, I think it's going to be a tough matchup, and I personally would love to see a win for Devin, because ain't nobody want to see James win again.
Keep everything close. I think it's going to come down to a couple of things. How does Kittle look? Is he going to be the check down option for Nick Mullins, who is starting for San Francisco? Is Kittle going to look like, is he going to get 8 to 10 targets because that's Mullins is trying to dink and dunk it? Also, without Lindsey, does Denver continue to feed Gordon as if he's the bell cow? And then obviously, if the Dallas-Seattle game is high scoring, there could be a lot of points for Dak and Tyler Lockett all around. And both those mobile quarterbacks, that could just turn into a shootout, I think. On the flip side, if Ridley keeps scoring touchdowns at this rate, and I don't trust Chicago's defense to stop him, this could be another really high scoring week for James. That's kind of so looking, the key factors for me is Kittle going to be targeted a bunch, or is he going to be unhealthy and not targeted? The Seattle-Dallas game, how high scoring is that? Melvin Gordon, like, a lot more questions on Devin's side. So I think we all kind of know at this point that James has a solid team. It's just a matter of, like, will Ridley blow up again?
So just to go back to your point of what you were saying about George Kittle, I'm looking at his stats. Keep in mind the 2018 season, he did play with Nick Mullins.
That's correct.
And CJ Beathard, and he actually had a better overall seasonal stat line than he did compared to last year, where he had Jimmy G the whole time. So as far as that chemistry is probably still there. It's just whether he plays through an injury or not. What I think is really cool, and I've always liked this player, is Jordan Reed as a backup. So I think it's cool that, Devin can just see, okay, Kittle's out. Let me just go ahead and plug in Reed. I think Reed definitely has the potential of being a comeback player of the year, especially if they, do something where they incorporate more of a 2 tight end set, or, maybe Kittle goes out for a little bit more, because he's an incredible player, incredible
early contender.
athleticism. For sure.
Early contender for that award. 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I think this is just going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah, so just to real quick, the thought process on the trade with Devin, looking at what I had on the roster, thinking I had a lot of running back depth. I offered him initially one of the other running backs that I had for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was a guy that I targeted in other drafts, had been trying to find a way to make it make sense in Splatty draft, and it just didn't. But I offered him, I think I asked, I threw out Peterson, would have been fine with Nyheim Hines as well. Dev made the right call and just asked for, well, what about Melvin Gordon for CeeDee Lamb? And I know that was, I used a second round keeper bid on him, but the thought process was, at the time, I had Saquon, I had Chris Carson, who both were looking like studs. Nyheim Hines and Adrian Peterson and Melvin Gordon, to me, all looked like guys that would be great to slot in at the flex if I needed to, or on Saquon or Chris Carson's bye weeks. I had options there. So I've got options. I don't have depth at receiver. Chris Godwin went down. Make this swap. Also, definitely considered offering, or trying to get some draft picks out of it, since, in my opinion, I still think that Gordon is a better player. However, there's some naturally baked in long-term value because Gordon is not keeper eligible. CeeDee Lamb is eligible going into next year. So that was kind of the process on why, I didn't really, Devin, I gave an offer, Devin countered, and at the time I thought I had plenty of running back depth. Turns out I don't, because Saquon got hurt. But
yeah, it's one of those hard things. I mean, what is fantasy, right? As you're talking about your transaction, I do want to say, and we don't have to analyze it too much, is I do think the Fig Newtons and Chinese net swap of Allen Robinson and Todd Gurley, I think it was a good trade.
I think it was a good trade.
No need for any, no extra sprinkles or cherries on top. You just got cake for cake,
Just a classic receiver for running back. I thought it was good. I thought both teams got better because of it, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, last matchup we want to preview actually involves Antonio, the Fig Newtons, going up against Kevin. And this one, to me, is super interesting because we've really never. It's been a long time since we've had a chance for Antonio to have a bad start to the season. And Kevin is also one of those guys who Kevin's been more up and down. When he got his title by trading a lot of capital, and he had a down year. And Kevin's sitting at 2-0. Antonio's projected to win this game, but Kevin's also got a 0 projected right here, so it's going to go up as soon as he swaps Mostert out of the flex spot. Even Edelman's 14.5 points, so he's going to be projected for 135 or so. And it feels like, as much as we talked about James starting to maybe run away with it if he does beat Devin, Kevin is also right on the knocking on the doorstep of becoming a clear favorite and putting one of the perennial high achievers of the league in Antonio at 1 and 2.
I don't have much more to say. I just peeked at Kevin's team, and I guess I didn't realize. Yeah, he's been pretty. He has the right amount of wide receiver depth. He looks pretty okay at running back, and you're right about that 0. So he'll be sitting somewhere around 135, which I don't know. I feel like Antonio always finds a way to put up the right people at the right time. And so It'll be interesting. I mean, he is playing, that's David Johnson. And so, it should be good. We'll see if it comes back to bite Antonio in the ass, getting rid of running back depth. But again, he did kind of shore up some talent at wide receiver, which might have been what he was hurting at before. So
we'll see.
I think you chose another great match preview.
This is one that I honestly think is going to be huge in determining a lot down the road as far as playoff standings go. I really do. This is the last. We've played 2 weeks now, so at this point, we are at the point in the season where everyone is going to play everyone else exactly one more time before playoffs. So we will not see Kevin and Antonio play against each other, but I have a feeling that they're going to be shuffling around the top spot or so, maybe playing for that bye week. Obviously, the tiebreaker is not head-to-head in our league. It's total points, but wins are counted before the total points. And this could be a huge one when we look back towards the end of the season about who is slotted into what spot in the standings, especially if Kevin wins and looks like it starts to run away with it, and Antonio is has a solid squad that's just in that 8 or 9 wins range, or maybe only got 7 wins and trying to hold on. We'll see. I'm excited to see who wins this one. I think it's going to have a lot of impact for the whole rest of the league.
Absolutely.
Okay, a couple more things that we did want to go through. I just want to try to highlight one team each week. Just kind of really dive into their roster. So I'm pulling up Hoyt right now. Not sure if you're looking at my screen, if you want to look at yours, Nabil, but I just want to say that I'm more and more impressed. The more times I look at Hoyt's roster, and I'm not just saying this to try to butter you up because I'm playing you this week, Hoyt. The more I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? I got all these guys on other teams in my other leagues because I like them. I like Hoyt's team.
He's currently right now, as he's listening to this, because he's definitely one of our only listeners. He's blushing right now. He's smiling. I can see him just going, "Oh, thanks, guys." But yeah, he came out of the draft well. Hopefully, this is the year that he makes playoffs or can at least make a splash in the league and capitalize on one of the few good years that he has left in Kamara. So what is Kamara's keeper value here?
Kamara,
3. So yeah, he has one more year probably.
Yeah.
Barring injury.
It's been and Hoyt knows I'm not gonna pull it up, but I think Hoyt has not actually made the playoffs with Kamara on his roster, despite him drafting Kamara with great value way back when. I think in 2018, or maybe even 2017, at the back end of the draft, and it's been a while since Hoyt's been in the playoffs, and I think this is the year that he breaks through with this roster. I mean, Roethlisberger looks good. Everyone, there was a lot of questions about will Big Ben look good, and I'm sorry, Pittsburgh looks good. Keenan Allen, not maybe the stud that he used to be, but still solid. He's going to be projected in the mid-teens every week. Marquise Brown's looking like a great keeper selection. You mentioned Kamara
Good trade.
And did he get him in a trade? I thought he dropped.
Talking about it.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, I have a good eye for those late round wide receivers. Apparently,
that's right.
I just give them away. No, he was part of a trade that I was trying to make playoffs. Didn't make playoffs, so cool. Thanks.
Right.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, but and then the depth. He's got Frank Gore. He grabbed Devontae Freeman off the waiver wire just now. I don't see any holes. He's got one of the best kickers in the league in Harrison Butker, who plays for the best offense. It seems like he at this point might just be streaming defenses, but I'm telling you, Hoyt's team has. I feel like the floor is going to be that 110 mark pretty much every week for him, as long as he makes the right start-sit decisions.
And it's kind of funny. I think I mentioned this earlier that I have the smallest depth at 4 running backs, and I mentioned that some people have 8, and that is Hoyt. And I think honestly, in this season, it's not the worst to gobble up all the running backs as you can, because if wide receivers get injured, there's enough that you can figure out who to kind of piecemeal in.
Yeah.
You just look for who's the hottest hand. So, yeah, as much as I like to kind of give him a hard time, he's starting off well. I mean,
It's looking good.
Good for him, 1-1. Tough beat last week, but
Absolutely,
hey, those points forward do matter when it comes into making playoffs. And our league does have enough talent. We're all generally pretty good where we sit there right at playoffs, and it could be points for that are the difference maker between you making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. So
those big as much as
I
it
think he's
sucks
got a
to
good
lose,
shot.
yeah. And when you get near that 150 mark, it sucks to lose, but it's so much better than throwing up like a 72 and just tanking in that points for tiebreaker. The second team.
And also, I mean, just to go back to it just quickly, is that it does come down to the fact that he had a tough matchup last week, right? And so he won't have that game. Well, I guess he will have that game one more time. But there is a theory behind. Sometimes if you have those tough losses, it's because you played a top team as opposed to a bottom team. So he's probably got more bottom team. Maybe like he gets to play me again. Lucky him. So we'll see.
Yeah. Third highest score. Shout out Spencer. Way to get your first win. Also, by the way, with the 145. 145. No, sorry. 147 was the the fourth highest score. So absolutely a high scoring week overall again. Wanted to look at I think Nabil wanted to call it his optimal prime section and just take a look at.
Yeah, we're gonna roll out
roster.
another optimal prime.
Let's take a look. Go ahead, Nabil.
Oh no, I was just going with the rollout joke. It's all yours. I didn't do any prep for this, but I mean, it sucks for me because I had the bold prediction of.
You did.
Even though I guess he did have a higher prediction, but I mean, it is brutal to kind of have something where you're supposed to be at 120. You put up a good performance week one, and then you sit there below 100. I think below 100 is such a good gut punch every year, and so. I haven't actually taken a deep dive at this. I did not optimize the lineups beforehand, so sorry for the lack of prep.
The main thing here, all Drew had to do was start Diggs. That's it. Start Diggs. Even if he starts Diggs over, so if he starts him over DK Metcalf in the flex, then okay, yeah, he doesn't get enough to push him over the line for Antonio, but playing the Bengals defense, like I don't like that play, Drew. You got a pick, which prevented you from getting the minimum of -4 in the defensive slot. But I am honestly surprised that Drew went for the start for Allen Robinson over Diggs. I just think Diggs is a better player. But if you look at their Yahoo projections, Robinson was projected for 17 and Diggs was projected for 14. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But
Drew, you could always blame it on the stinker tinker, dude. I think me and him are both in that category of the stinker tinker.
Anyway, we don't want to shit on you too much, Drew. Not that you're going to listen to this anyway.
Why do you?
No one tell him. He's got to find out on his own.
He did listen to it last week.
Oh, no. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Drew.
we got another listener.
Not really. Okay.
Now you have to apologize.
Drew, all you had to do was start Diggs and hopefully do that next time. We got one more thing, I think, is just our bold predictions for the week. I do want to congratulate you one more time, Nabil, for your victory over me. Not that anyone wants to listen to other fantasy leagues, but combined in my 5 leagues, I am 9-1, and so you are the only person who's beat me in fantasy this year. So, which is weird. Normally I play in fewer leagues, and after 2 weeks I'm like 1-5. So, I don't know how I'm doing it, but you got me. So congratulations on that. Do you want to go first in your bold prediction, or did you want me to go first?
I just came up with one on the spot as well. And it relates to Diggs. And what I want to say is Josh Allen, for all the flack that he's gotten over the last 2 years, looks like a stud. So my randomly determined bold prediction for this week for at least Josh Allen is going to be 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown.
That's
which
bold.
I think has kind of been where he's targeted. They're throwing way more than anyone anticipated, considering that they are looked at as a running team. But
Very
yes, I
bold.
will start with my second bold prediction, and it's with my favorite song, Baby Shark, or in this case, DJ Shark. I'm going to go ahead and predict 8 receptions, 100 plus yards, and a touchdown for a total of, let's say, plus or minus 25 fantasy points.
Yeah, 8 catches for 100 and a touchdown would be 24 on its own. So that sounds you're going 25 fantasy points for DJ Chark. That's bold. I'd say that's bold.
Yeah.
I think that is possible. I think the Allen prediction is a little bit more bold. I'm going to stay on brand with what you did with the Cam Newton prediction. I love the guy. We've talked about him now for 2 weeks in a row. My bold prediction, he's going to lead fantasy scoring next week. I think they play the Raiders, right? Is that right?
I believe
New England.
so.
Yeah, that's going to be a shootout, dude. The Raiders look good. As much as everyone wants to give shit to Drew Brees and the Saints not showing up, the Raiders defended the Death Star. They looked good. They looked good. I didn't watch much of the game, but the highlights I saw that they look they look good both weeks. They're 2-0. Not going to be a ton of defense, I don't think, because I'm also shooting. I'm hoping that Darren Waller can find the end zone a couple times. But that's my prediction. I don't know how he gets it done, whether it's on the feet, ground, or both. But my bold prediction: Cam Newton's going to lead all fantasy players in scoring next week.
Ooh, bold. But we both like the guy, so I think he can do it. Even though I just predicted a buttload of points for Josh Allen, I just we'll
you didn't say how many picks he'd throw to. All right. Well,
hey, I actually don't think he has in it.
He might not. Yeah.
He has 0 picks, so don't hate on my Josh Allen.
All right. No, I would love for him to have no picks. I am starting him in other leagues. That is going to do it for now. Thanks for listening. Nabil and I are going to keep doing these on Wednesday as long as it doesn't. As long as nothing better comes up. I can't see anything better coming up when all you got to do is stay inside all day, right?
Hey man, and honestly, thanks for everybody who's listening to us ramble. We'll figure out the chemistry. It's kind of hard here on Zoom without really seeing facial expressions every time. So
yeah,
we got this.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, if it goes well enough, hey, maybe we'll even move it to twice a week.
Woo! Don't tempt me with a good time.
All right. Take care, everybody. Good luck in your other leagues. Good luck in this league. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Peace.